So sub-communication and attraction continue to be really sought after and loved topics in our community and in our conversation, and probably they always will be. And I take this as a sign of elegance, because in a more kind of objectivized way of looking at the world, a culturally conditioned kind of brute way of looking at the world, particularly in the West, when it comes to attraction, there's this image of a big, strong alpha male goes up to a indifferent and closed woman, says some things in a magical way, and then she opens and flaunts herself all over him. And so this image of what it means to be an attractive man who's approaching a woman has us build expectations in ourselves that, first of all, we need to have a certain kind of stature and massive bulk force of charisma in order to do this with a woman. And second, we need to be in possession of a certain kind of magic that can turn even the most closed door into an open, dripping, excited avenue of exploration, right? And that sets up so much stress in our own minds and bodies. When we think of replicating such an approach, it turns it all into a performance, and that's where our own inner stress and tension comes in. So it's so much more refined and elegant to look at the world through sub-communication. Men and women, our energies are constantly in flux. We are constantly impacting each other when we're in the same space. And so the more we can start to read into how those energies are already happening, it changes everything about how we might initiate contact, connection, and how an attraction actually might flourish out of that. So we're aligning actually with the energies of nature rather than busting through and trying to force something to happen. So I think it's really worth saying a few words about how attraction happens, how I believe it happens in the kind of present moment way. And what I see and what I've seen and learned to understand about this is that as a man, if you're in your masculine as a man, you walk into a room and your presence impacts everybody in the space. So your presence as a man impacts everybody in the space. All of us are always present in some way. Some of us are present in the actual moment with our attention wide and feeling out into the room and out into the distance, like we're holding everything and everyone within our field of presence. And some of us are present either to inner critic thoughts or to a cell phone, and so our field or impact of our presence is like 6 inches deep, or it stays internal. You know, a wallflower is impacting the room that they're in, but their presence doesn't really go further than perhaps their own self-concern or inner critic or self-judgment or feelings of shame, right? But if you can allow presence to permeate the room, then you impact people more deeply. So I've got a long video that, I've got a series of videos that you can dive into exploring more the nuances and the function of presence and how to expand it. So let's say as a man you go into a room and your presence is solid, you're there, you're in the moment, you're noticing the small things. What will happen is that presence will have a kinetic effect on the energy that everybody else feels. And particularly the feminine in everyone and the feminine women are going to feel your presence, and they're going to start to feel things. Energy just starts to move. This is kind of the cosmic dance, or the dance of the sacred masculine and sacred feminine, as people call it. You have this empty presence, it comes into the room, and the stronger the presence, the more bubbles of energy are going to move within this field of presence. Bubbles of energy move, that's it. Bubbles of energy move in men as well. If a really present man comes into the room, you might feel something, you might feel your anus pucker up in a kind of shit, who is this, what's going to happen here? And women who are more sensitive and are more constituted in general with feminine energy, that they're going to feel bubbling happen through their bodies. So when it comes to subcommunication, that's the first thing to remember, that the play of polarity that's taking place. Now, what you might see with your eyes is traces and clues that this energetic dance is happening. And this is what most of us are talking about when we talk about subcommunication. What did you see? What did you hear? What were the subtle clues, the subtle observable bits of communication that showed you potential attraction? Well, actually, the subtle clues are just the tip of the iceberg. Really, it's the energy dance or the polarity, which is the real attraction, but it's nice and it's useful to be able to notice the clues of this in the body. So what you might notice is you as a present grounded man walk into a room and certain women around you or within that space start to arch their backs, lift their shoulders, maybe there's a wave of the spine, maybe they tip their hair, maybe when you're talking to her there's a constant kind of caressing of hair, more lipstick goes on. Most of this is completely involuntary and unconscious to her. If you point it out, it can often completely ruin the spark because she gets self-conscious. And then talking to her, she might do the classic things of like playing with her hair. You might see even her pupils dilate. She kind of zones out, kind of feeling a lot in the present, mindlessly playing with her hair. I remember one time I was talking to a woman and her pupils dilated. She started just rubbing her breast, which I thought was incredible in a social place. So that sense of like involuntarily being kind of swept up by energy moving through you. There's a lot of clues that that's taking place. So as you're speaking to a woman or as you're having a little bit of eye contact from a woman across the room, do you also notice clues of movement going through her body? If her body tends to be stiff and unmoving, perhaps there's not that attraction and polarity, but the more her body kind of moves and opens, you can start to take these things as clues. Now, when it comes to approaching a woman, let's say in a party or in a bar or something like that, your presence enters into the room and the women around you, or the women that you're able to notice and feel within that space, they will feel the presence come in. Okay, so already something's happening. And one man might go into the room and a woman, let's say standing at the bar, her body might open by 3 degrees. Her shoulders might open by 3 degrees. She might lift her head and look over at you and then look away. But generally there's a slight turning. And that's like the same as a flower turning towards the sun. A bee can only come into a flower if the petals are opened and the flower's opening and turning towards the sun. Often when there's no sun there, there's no benevolent, safe, trustable presence, a flower will actually close off and turn away. So if you want to make an elegant approach to a woman, you want to notice when her flower is opening towards you. You are the sun, you are also the bee in one thing. So her body opens a little bit, and that's what makes your approach elegant. Her invitation, her body is a subtle invitation. Start to notice when a woman's body opens by 3-5 degrees. And then you might have a man who walks into a bar and there's something not quite so sunny about his energy. There might be a presence or a charisma there, but there might not be a certain safety or a niceness that women like about his energy. And you will notice similarly, like the flower turning away, she might just shield herself. She's playing an energetic game of opening and defense, of invitation and closure with her body. Oh no, look at that guy, look away. He's seen us, damn, damn, damn. And you try and approach her and she's like, yeah. So you can predict to a large degree whether your approach to her is going to be successful or not based on these little things. And again, most of this is unconscious and involuntary, and it's just a manifestation of what's going on in her body, right? But you're, say, coming out of being in your head and into your eyes and starting to notice these things. Now, what's even more interesting is that it's not always going to be this easy. And as your presence goes into a room and a woman feels what she feels as your presence impacts her and those energies move, what you'll often find is women that are very attracted to you or feeling a lot because of you clamp down on a lot of that energetic movement. So it's not like you come in and she just like sees you, oh wow, and everything opens straight away. It happens, it's a bit more rare. A lot of women are going to be perhaps afraid of the strength or the vigor of their emotional, sensational energy reaction to you, and not knowing yet if they can trust you or if it's a good idea to show you some of this. So Zan tells a story in his book of approaching 3 beautiful girls, and he's laughing and flirting with all of them. And the first 2 are very open, but there's also not so much of a sexual charge to it. It's like an open, fun conversation. But the 3rd woman tightens up and looks away. And Zan, in his experience, is like, I know that it was on with the 3rd woman because she looks disinterested. How does he know that? Well, the clue is that he can sense that this energetic movement in her body is happening, and as an harsh kind of overcompensation, she slams on the brakes. So a lot of women who feel comfortable but friendly in their energy, they don't feel so much of an erotic movement of energy in their body with your presence there. But women who do start feeling that, sometimes they might stiffen up even more. So it's very interesting to start to notice this. When do you imagine that a woman is responding quite strongly to your presence? And can you notice that she's actively tightening, clamping, almost like standing on a hose pipe in a garden, using her muscles to tighten up and stop that energy flow because it's vulnerable. She doesn't want to give herself away so quickly, all these things. And what's needed for you there is that sense of patience and trustability. You're not going to try and change her experience or do something clever to manipulate her out of that. There's kind of this benevolent, loving patience, and also a playful, mischievous knowing that you rest into. And the more you can be patient, ask questions, share things, talk to the friends, whatever it is, at a reasonable pace, she will start to relax in her own time. The more she feels you as a safe and trustable presence, the more she'll start to relax some of her muscles and allow her energy to move through her again. So yeah, you might tease her and poke her a little bit. That's fine. Make your innuendo, your funny jokes, celebrate her, whatever it feels like you want to do. But noticing that it's actually a conversation of presence and energy. And when she starts to trust you, she'll let that muscle clamping go and her energy will move through you. So these are things that you're going to learn to see along the way. When does a woman feel her energy move because of my presence? Question 1. When does a woman start to feel an erotic form of energy start to move in her because of my presence? Question 2. And then the final one is, when is a woman feeling an erotic energy moving in her that she clamps down because she doesn't feel safe yet for that to be expressed? Can I see all these varieties of things happening? And they will, because presence and energy is the dance of the universe. Men and women are impacting each other all of the time, and that's how it is. Now, one thing also to get used to in all of this is we come into a room, our presence is moving energies around us, and the energies that we move around us, we can also start to feel in our own body. So with the kind of mirror neuron phenomena, that quality of empathy, if my presence impacts a woman so that her energy starts to move and yep, she feels some attraction and some bubbles towards me, I often feel a reflection of those bubbles in my own body. And I'm like, oh shit, now I'm feeling butterflies in the stomach. Now I'm feeling more sexual attraction. Now I'm feeling the nerves or the innocence and the sweetness in my heart. That also can be quite a lot to deal with. So the next stage, we talked about seeing or noticing the concrete surface, the material, objective, testable, you can see it on a video camera, reactions to subcommunication. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Once you start becoming more in your body and being able to feel the emotions and sensations of your body, subcommunication takes on a new dimension, which is you walk into a room, you see a woman, you feel something. You feel something in your body, it starts to move, and you might restrict or numb or freeze your own sensations. You might be relaxed and comfortable with your own emotions and sensations, your own erotic energy. The more you can relax in your own body, the more you can feel the flow of attraction, polarity, sexual tension, turn on. This is the massive inner work for men. If when you feel attracted or you feel turned on by a woman, that somehow feels like a dangerous thing in your own body, and you suppress that and numb that and freeze that within, you don't get access to the felt dimension of subcommunication. You stay in your head, or you stay looking like a scientific observer from the outside. What are the signs? What are the signals? Does she like me? Is she moving her hair? You know? But if you can feel in your body and start to enjoy all of these feelings, then you're in the feeling dance of subcommunication. And that's a big piece of work. It means coming into your body, and it means learning how to trust all your emotions, all your sensations, and all your erotic life force. And then consequently on the other side, the gift of learning how to feel your own interiors in a really subtle and open and accepting way is you start to gain the intuition of what's going on in others. So because I can feel myself really clearly, and because I'm present to all of that, I can now put my presence onto you, and through empathy I can start feeling some of the things you feel in your body in my own body as a reflection. Now subcommunication stops being this eyes looking for clues, does she like me, does she like me, here are 5 clues, I think so. But it starts becoming a direct intuition, which is with my presence and my curiosity and my empathy, I can feel kind of into your body, and I can feel sensations in your body. I can feel places where your muscles are tight and contracted. I can feel the potential of heart opening within you. I can feel the potential of turn on within you, and I can feel you. And that's direct subcommunication right there. And you might say some things like that, but the non-verbal recognition of 2 people that can feel each other is phenomenal, right? That's a real beginning of complicity or conspiracy. In this whole room of people, I feel exactly what you're feeling, and I know that you're impacted by me being able to feel you, and I know that you feel that I'm a certain kind of man. And so, yeah, as the years went by, I developed this kind of intuition quite naturally through doing a lot of practice and dating, great interest in subcommunication, then my own inner embodiment work. And I can feel that, and there's a particular quality to that encounter where if we are feeling each other and we can feel sensations moving around and a resonance or a polarity between us, it's like we start entering into a bubble or a certain world where only the 2 of us exist. And what to say, what to do next, I trust my feelings. Maybe my feelings are be patient, a little bit cautious, trust that in time things are going to work out. That's what I do. Maybe I get the feeling of this is really intense right now, and what my body tells me to do is take action, invite her over to here, go speak to her directly. Then I trust that. So that's how the dance starts off. And then the third depth, so top depths of subcommunication, is tip of the iceberg, the clues that you see, the body movement, or the attempts to clamp onto her turn on and shut it down. The second range of subcommunication would be, yeah, I can actually feel what you're feeling, and you know that I feel what you're feeling, and I'm openly transmitting what I'm feeling to you. We're 2 feeling people now feeling each other from across the way in a dance. Sensual, delightful. And then a deeper depth of subcommunication still is this is a spiritual level, being able to witness some of the spiritual qualities that this woman possesses, or that are coming through her in the moment. So when you notice this woman, do you notice the quality of her heart? Can you feel yearning? Can you feel compassion? Can you feel loneliness? Can you feel desire? Can you feel generosity? Can you feel devotion? Can you feel the way that she gives herself into the world? So these are not qualities that are emotional, that you can feel in the moment. They're more like feminine virtues. Can you notice some of her kind of transcendental feminine virtues, the things that we talk about when we say alabaster girl? Can you notice these things? Most men don't have their radar to even ask this question. Can I feel how much compassion, how much giving, how much devotion, how much generosity, how much joy, how much yearning, loneliness is in this woman's heart? Can I feel a quality of soul in her? Can I feel the archetypes that are present or that could possibly come through? What archetypes can and does this woman frequently embody? And this takes a spiritual vision, which you can train through curiosity, and also starting to understand how archetypes, how qualities of presence, how virtues play out in yourself. This is a deeper level of it, but I tell you, it's very beautiful coming into a room and being able to see a woman who's got these particular virtues, because these are the virtues. It's like, I'm not looking at her in terms of, is she a hot body, is she good looking? I'm seeing, does this woman have devotional qualities that I would want in a relationship? Are there aspects of her that I deeply want to celebrate and praise and even worship to some degree? Does she have all of these things? And if I can see them and delight in them, then I look at her with a very different vision. I'm not looking at her objectively or objectivizing the shape of her body. I'm not even looking at her with different emotions and sensations and enjoying or feeling through empathy her current state or how she's feeling today. But I'm seeing the broad kind of lifelong arc and flavor of this soul that's in front of me. And the other thing of subcommunication, of course, is you're not just looking for her clues of subcommunication, you are also subcommunicating all the time. So the very way that you're walking, standing, seeing, the very quality of presence as it comes through your eyes and into the space is itself a subcommunication. And if I'm just like blown away because I feel into the archetypal or the spiritual depth of a woman, then I look at her through some very generous and deep eyes. And for sure, she's going to notice me seeing her like that and respond in a very powerful way. And, you know, as a man in relationship, this is a very nice way of moving through the world because I don't have to worry about subcommunication for flirting. Say I want a hit of good feminine energy, I don't have to dirty the water by flirting with other women, so I get some kind of kicks from doing that. I don't even have to like feel into erotic and emotional energies with a woman and have that kind of bubble emerge between me and her and run energy with her and so on. To get a hit, I can appreciate the deepest, finest qualities in a woman, get an instant kind of soul level, I see you, you see me, beautiful, absolute admiration and respect of a deep man and a deep woman seeing each other from across the room. And I don't need anything more than that. Right? It's just that's enough to fill my days. So these are things that you can notice as well. If you have any questions, post them below, and I'm going to link to the Introduction to Presence video, and I'm also going to link to the Curiosity video, which unpacks these themes in a deeper way. When it comes to this journey, it's something that deepens over time, and there's no need to rush it, because if it takes you a couple of years to start to notice the tip of the iceberg, kind of concrete clues, and then to start feeling, you know, subcommunication as a dance of feeling. I don't even need to see the hair thing or how open she is in a bar. I can already feel her. That's a whole new depth to it. But the spiritual vision thing is a depth even still. Even if it takes you 2 years to get all of these, you're going to have this is where abundance comes from. When you can walk around the world and feel the deep qualities of the feminine and see them and have them flower and shine over you because you know that they're there and because you're attuned to this poetic spiritual level, that's a definition of abundance. You're not going to need 1,000 bodies in your bed to feel abundance. Life itself is abundant, and that's moving through the world with a kind of grace. And yes, it will make your dating path very, very easy indeed. In fact, it will make your dating path very sad because you will want to clone yourself 10,000 times to consummate the beautiful yearning and devotion that lays in the bottom of, don't let them deny this to you, every woman's heart.